Welcome everyone to Scratch That, Understanding Atopic Dermatitis, which is eczema, and Prurigo Nodularis. Moderating today's session is Dr. Margaret Alabi. She is Director of Patient Advocacy for U.S. and Global Dermatology at Regeneron. She brings over a decade of experience in strategic advocacy and coaching, focused on expanding access and support for people with chronic skin conditions. You guys can start coming to the stage. So Dr. Margaret Alabi is going to be moderating. Joining us next is Tiwana. She is a senior program manager living with Prurigo Nodularis. She shares her personal journey with us today because she wants to help raise awareness and to help other people with some of the same issues feel seen and supported. Also joining us today is Tenesha Hood, Associate Director of Healthcare Provider Engagement at the National Eczema Association, and Demi Anastasiadis. She is the lead of U.S. Public Affairs and Patient Advocacy in Dermatology at Sanofi Regeneron. And we have to call out our platinum sponsor, Sanofi Regeneron, for helping us make this session possible. So I'm going to turn it over to the experts here. Dr. Alabi.
Good morning and welcome everyone. We are so excited to be here with you today, and we ask that you just give us a little bit of patience as we are getting our tech set up. And now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague from Sanofi, Demi Anastasiadis. Go ahead, Demi.
Thank you, Margaret, and good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here with you all. To start off our session, our topic is Scratch That and Understanding Atopic Dermatitis and Prurigo Nodularis in our community. Just before we get started, I did want to give some background on how the session is going to work. This is going to be an interactive activity, so I encourage you folks to take out your devices and scan the QR code, and we'll just take a few seconds to allow you all to scan the QR code. But super excited to be back here. Our connection to Black Health Matters goes beyond today's session. We've actually recently partnered with them on a digital campaign where you could find some additional resources on the information that we're going to be covering in case you have some interest in learning more. So I'll just give you guys a little bit of 5 more seconds and then we can get started.
As Demi mentioned, we just want to see how much you all know about eczema and Prurigo Nodularis. So this is not meant to make you feel bad. We're just having a little bit of fun, right? Because we're all here to learn today, and this is going to be an instrument or a part of our learning experience.
That is correct. Thank you. And it looks like we have 55 folks joined. We'll give it another second or so.
Yeah, because there's more than 55 people in the room, right, Jimmy?
Yeah. And just to share, we do have Tenesha here with us, and Tenesha is going to be sharing the perspective from the National Eczema Association on behalf of the atopic dermatitis patient community. And then Tiwana is a patient living with Prurigo Nodularis and has a wonderful short story to share with us to really explain what it's like living with this condition. On the top, when we switch over, there is the QR code on the top corner. You can zoom in and scan it through there, or you can also type in the link that you'll see. It's a little small, but you could zoom in on your cell phones. So we'll start with the first one. Atopic dermatitis is just dry skin that will go away on its own. Is this a myth or a fact? Let us know what you think. All right. Look at you all. So most of the folks in the room are telling us that this is a myth, and I will go to my lovely Tenesha here and help us understand, what do you think based on what the National Eczema Association says about atopic dermatitis, and how does this compare to what people often believe?
Yeah, so I know many of you, maybe like myself, I'm from the South, and so my grandma told me that it was just a rash, but this rash never went away. And so I think it's important for everyone to understand that this is a common myth that we do hear. However, it's not just going to go away. It is a chronic, lifelong condition that so many people live with. Some people are able to have very mild eczema where they can just have a really good skincare routine and they moisturize, but there are others who require more of a prescription treatment regimen. And so when you think about all of these things, it's important for you to understand what eczema looks like on your skin and just understand that it's not a one size fit all, and what works for another person actually may not work for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tenesha, and sharing with us that it's way more than just dry skin that goes on. So we'll move on to the next one. The next one is stress can trigger atopic dermatitis flares. What do you all think? Looks like you guys are going ahead. All right. Everyone, the majority says it's a myth. So Tenesha, can you help us understand and explain to us how stress... Fact, sorry. Apologies, I'm looking not at the right one. So this is a fact, in fact. And Tenesha, can you please explain how stress and atopic dermatitis interact?
Yeah, so stress is absolutely a trigger for eczema, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle because once you now have eczema, you're now stressed out about your eczema. You're constantly itching. You may now lose sleep, and now, you may feel a feeling of isolation because the individuals around you don't understand why you're always scratching. And then also you may have people looking at you funny in public because they may see scars on your skin. They may see hypopigmentation taking place. And so all of these things now causes you more stress. And so as you can see, this can be a very vicious cycle. And so it's very important that you're making sure you're taking care of yourself. You make sure you talk to your friends, a loved one, a close person, and even your provider about how you are feeling, because just like your skin matters, your mental health also matters. And so making sure that you're recognizing all of those signs and symptoms beyond the skin is important.
For sure. Thank you so much, Tenesha. And it's really common to know and acknowledge that our skin health and our mental health are connected. So we're going to move on to our last question related to atopic dermatitis, and then Tiwana, we will start with you. So our last one is people with darker skin tones cannot get atopic dermatitis. Is this a myth or a fact? Myth, myth, myth. Okay, I think you guys knew all this information already. You guys did fantastic. Well, that is correct. This is false. Atopic dermatitis can affect different skin tones. And Tenesha, can you share with us what you think? Does atopic dermatitis affect diverse skin tones?
Yes, this is a really harmful myth because it can lead to so many other disparities and also delayed diagnoses and treatment for individuals and communities of color. And so it's important for us to understand what eczema looks like on our skin. And that's why at my organization, we have an eczema visual guide, because we really want everyone to understand that AD affects all skin tones. And so because of that, you need to know that on Black and brown individuals, eczema look red. It can look purple. It can look brown. It can also look gray. And sometimes they say, oh, we just ashy. No, we're not. You're not just ashy. The ash is not going away. And so it's very important that you recognize what it looks like on your skin so that you can be your best advocate, right? When you're going to your doctor's appointments, make sure you take pictures of your eczema, make sure you write down what you think is causing your eczema, and so that you can have a conversation like, hey, this is what's going on my skin, and it is causing me not to be able to sleep at night. And so I think all of that is important, and recognizing signs and symptoms so that you can best advocate for yourself is what we encourage the eczema community to do.
Well, thank you so much, Tenesha, for participating with us today. And I love Be Your Best Advocate, as you guys are all here today. You're already on the right path. And it's so important for those living with eczema to understand that it can show up in different skin tones. So this way it allows you to early detect it. So Tiwana, we will now move on over to you, and we'll just jump right in. It looks like the audience has been moving along. And our first statement here is, once you stop scratching, Prurigo nodularis heals quickly. Myth or fact? Myth. Okay, so it looks like we have some people that said this was a fact. So we have some education to do here. Tiwana, can you please share from your experience, what has the healing process been like for you?
Absolutely. Can you all hear me? Absolutely. For me and my personal experience, this is a myth. Um, yes. Oh, can you hear me? All right, I'll speak loudly. In my personal experience, this is a myth. The number one, thank you, the number one symptom for most people who have prurigo nodularis is the itching. But the itching is not normal. This is not chickenpox itching. This is not a feather brushing across your skin itching. This is itching that is so severe that it's life-changing, it's life-altering. The itching is not a surface skin type of experience. It is deep-rooted in your skin. It is underneath the layers of your skin to the point where when you're scratching, you can't reach it. You can't reach it, and it still itches. So even after several treatments and several remedies were given to me by doctors to alleviate the itching, and the itching did slow down, the prurigo nodularis did not fade. I still have most of my scars, probably 95% of the scars that I had at the beginning of being diagnosed with prurigo nodularis, they're still here. So it doesn't fade away after the itching, the scratching stops, and it doesn't heal right away. So it can take months and sometimes up to years for people to really and truly get better from prurigo nodularis.
Thank you so much, Tiwana, for sharing your experience. Patience and persistence is super key here. Thanks so much. So we'll move on to the next one. Prurigo nodularis is more common in women than it is in men. All right. So this is a mix. This is certainly a mix. Oh, we're almost at 50-50. Okay. So Tiwana, can you share with us in your community networks and in your support groups, does this match what you have noticed? We didn't, it was 50-50.
Yes, women. Yeah, to me, I totally think women are diagnosed with PN more than men. In my experience, what is taking place is when I first found out that I had prurigo nodularis, I started to do research, connect with organizations that worked with PN patients, and I got to learn and know more about the skin condition, and I got to meet up patients that were dealing with the same thing that I was dealing with, getting to know their experience, getting to know how they were coping. And in the 3 years since I've been diagnosed with prurigo nodularis, I've met one male patient that's been diagnosed with prurigo nodularis. Doesn't mean that there's only one, but in the entire time I've met other patients, they've all been women. So I do believe that women tend to get PN more. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, I have not met a lot of men who have had prurigo nodularis.
Yeah, thank you, Tiwana. So this was actually a fact, and it's really telling to know that your lived experience is matching what research says. So we'll move on to the next one, and this is our last one. The itch from prurigo nodularis is just psychological. It looks like everyone most got this one. So this is actually a myth. The itch is actually caused by real nerve dysfunction and inflammation. And Tiwana, can you share with us how would you describe this itch to someone who hasn't experienced it?
Yeah, this question hurts my feelings. It is not psychological. It is absolutely real. It's real daily. It's difficult to deal with. As I had stated a little bit ago, it's an itch that is relentless, and that is my favorite word to use because it is a nonstop itch that I find myself sometimes when I'm in high degrees, because there are ebbs and flows. Like today's a good day. You'll see me scratching a little bit, but today's a wonderful day. There are days that I'm scratching so much that my nails won't meet the level of itch that I need, that I'll take a comb or a brush. Or I've had patients tell me they've grabbed the sides of scissors to scratch their leg because your brain says scratch, 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 and you can't stop. You want to stop. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to harm yourself. We know that we should not use apparatuses, but when I tell you this thing is not in our minds, it is beyond anything you can imagine, and at a level that I almost cannot even explain how much it itches. Like right now, the bottom of my foot is going crazy. And so if you see me tapping, it's because the itch will not stop. It's relentless. So it's not psychological. It's not in our brains. It is in our bodies, and our bodies are telling us, you have to scratch and relieve this.
Yeah, I want to pause on that word, relentless. You know, you really described to us and brought it to life. I saw the reaction of folks once you said that, you know, people use the back end of the scissor to scratch. This is not just a feeling. That is the daily reality for people living with Prurigo nodularis. And please, like everyone, just give us a round of applause for Tenesha and Tiwana here for helping us better understand these skin conditions. So that was a fantastic set of insights. Thank you both for sharing so openly. And we will move on to the actual discussion. And then we'll pass this over to my colleague, Margaret, who will moderate the session for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Demi. And thank you so much, everyone, for being so participative. We really appreciate that. And what's really exciting is that we were with you all last year in DC, and we shared Elise's story. If you had a chance to look at Elise's story last year, she also is a lovely woman living with Prurigo nodularis. So it sounds like the education is sticking. That is a good thing. Can you all give yourselves a round of applause? Okay? Because we are here to talk about Black health because it matters, and specifically what Black health looks like on Black skin. And so when we're thinking about these conditions beyond the itch, Tenesha and Tiwana, we cannot talk about these conditions without talking about the need to navigate a very complex healthcare system. I think it was you, Tenesha, that mentioned if you don't know what this condition looks like on your skin, it could lead to a delayed diagnosis. What are some of the things and ways that people, especially folks that are joining us here today, can take into their healthcare journey when thinking about how to navigate the system and advocate for great healthcare?
That's a great point, Margaret. And one of the things that I want to let everyone know is that the research shows that because communities of color learn about their diagnoses so late, you know, sometimes they start on more on the severe spectrum, meaning that the eczema has been on their skin for a very long time, and there's a lot of discoloration that has taken place, and the burden of disease is there, and you can see it. And so things that we like to share with the eczema community is that we have an app called Eczema Wise, and it's a free app. It's a great way for patients to track and manage and monitor their skin, because we want you guys to go to your appointments and feel empowered and prepared to have a discussion with your doctor. And so you can have all of these things in one place. You can store your images of your eczema, which gives the doctor a real-time view of how you were doing and feeling between your last visit. So when they ask you, hey, how you doing? You're like, hey, this is how I was doing. You know, this is what my eczema looked like on last week, and this is what it looks like today. And then also with the tracker, it's a great way for you to indicate like, what caused your skin to flare? What is triggering your skin? Where were you? What were you doing? And so all of these strategies can help promote you getting a early diagnosis and stop the delay of diagnoses in communities of color. And so we encourage you guys to definitely stop by the table, talk to me a little later if you want to learn more about our resources and support opportunities to support you guys on your journey.
So much for that, Tenesha. And again, Tenesha's organization is the National Eczema Association. And we appreciate all the work that you're doing on behalf of all skin tones. So the next question here is something that you touched on a little bit, Tiwana, sorry, and that was in regards to mental health. And Demi also kind of mentioned as well. As we continue to do research, what we are finding is that there is a strong connection between our skin, which is our largest organ on our body, and our mental health. Why? Because your skin is the most visible organ you have. I can't see your guts, but I can see your skin. So as we are talking about both of these conditions, can you speak to us about some of the mental health challenges that are experienced by people living with Prurigo nodularis as well as eczema? And what are some of the ways that you encourage folks to address and or bolster their mental health as they are going through this journey?
So lots of times what I want people to recognize is when you're dealing with a medical situation, which I know some of you have probably dealt with, we tend to concentrate on that medical part. What medicines do I take? How do I get better? Am I eating right? Or am I doing what I need to do for my body? But when you are dealing with a medical situation, especially like Prurigo nodularis, which is rare, a rarer condition, you don't know what's happening to your body. You don't know why it's happening to your body. And lots of times we want to understand why. And when you're dealing with how you're coping with getting better and being better, it takes a large toll on your mental health. I think about the fact that I'm lucky enough to not have Prurigo nodularis all over my body. There are people who have it all over their face, all over their neck. They walk in the streets and it's a testimony everywhere they go. You look at me, if you don't see me scratching, you may not even know I have Prurigo nodularis because it presented all over my legs, all over my back, and the backs of my arms. So if I'm clothed, if I'm dressed, you may not even know. So my point is, it still is a part of me. I'm still looking at myself in the mirror. I love the beach. It changes the way I dress. So I don't wear, short skirts anymore. I have cute little thighs, like legs. I want to show my little legs out, but I don't do that anymore because it makes me feel self-conscious. And when you're dealing with those types of things, it can really mess you up. It can make you feel bad about yourself. It can make you feel uncomfortable around people. It can make you not feel good in your own skin. So concentrating on the medical side of things is very important, obviously, but you cannot forget how important that mental aspect is, because if your mental's not right, you're not going to get healthy anyway. So it's really important that we pay attention to the mental side of things.
Thank you so much for that, Tiwana. Thank you. Yes, she definitely deserves a round of applause. So in the interest of time, because we had a few technical snafus, we're going to try to move a little bit more briskly through this next session, but there's no way that we can get up here and talk to you about atopic dermatitis as well as Prurigo nodularis and not show you what it looks like on our skin, because Black health matters. And so if you don't know what you're looking at, it's going to be challenging for you to seek that care that you need. So Tenesha is going to do this next section, and I'm going to click all the images on the screen. And if you could just quickly give a brief overview of all of the different ways that eczema presents at the different stages, because eczema has 3 stages that we typically characterize it as. And with that, I'll turn it to Tenesha.
Absolutely. So, the first image you're seeing is what we like to call our mild stage of eczema. You may have an isolated dry patch of skin, still very irritating, still probably very itchy. Sometimes a lot of patients, as you can see on the screen, it'll start in like the crease of the arm. This is a very common location for eczema to present. The next photo is a individual who obviously has the eczema has moved more from a mild to moderate stage. You're seeing where there's a lot of discoloration on the skin. You're seeing a lot of thickening starting to take place. The skin is starting to crack open, which means now the individual has the opportunity for bacteria and other things to enter the skin at this stage. And as you can imagine, this is on their hands. And so that means that their daily activities are now being limited, because some people work with their hands. Some people have children they have to care for. And if your hands look like this image, now your daily and quality life is being impacted. And so what you're seeing with the next image is an individual who's probably have had eczema for a very long time, but obviously it's probably not being controlled. So you're seeing eczema take up a large portion of that body area on their legs. It's scaly, there's signs of infection taking place. And so it's very uncontrolled eczema. And so what I like for you guys to take from this is the fact that eczema is on a spectrum. Some people in our community tell us all the time that they move throughout these different stages. They don't just stay mild. For example, we just had our Eczema Expo, which is a patient conference for them to come and learn about what eczema is and what it's not. And so I heard this a lot, that individuals felt so welcome that they weren't the only people scratching. Everybody at Eczema Expo was scratching. And so that made them feel like community was, they felt like they were part of a community. And so all of these things is important. And your eczema is just not going to be fixed. It may move. You may have a life event, which causes your eczema to go from mild to severe in like overnight. we hear these stories as well. So it's very important to understand it's not a fixed path. Just know your eczema is real, your mental health matters, and that how you feel is the only thing that matters, because the burden of disease is different for everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Tenesha. And I love that you highlighted that. Yes, it does deserve a clap, because you all were so astute in answering the question about whether stress is a trigger for eczema earlier. And I like to share like a really quick personal story. I've never had atopic dermatitis in my life before, but I had a stressful event that I experienced about 2 years ago. And guess what? I experienced very mild eczema, and it comes and goes. So as Tenesha mentioned, eczema is now a part of my life, but it was triggered by stress. So it's really, really important, one, that we attend to our mental health, but that we also know that anything can trigger this, but we should seek care irrespective of where we are on that spectrum. All right. So now with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tiwana to talk about what Prurigo nodularis looks like on Black skin and what you're seeing on the screen. We're going to just do a really quick, and thank you so much, Nakia. I know Nakia is giving me the eye, honey. So we're going to move really quickly. So when you first saw Prurigo nodularis appear on your body, what were you thinking?
What the hell is happening to my body? I mean, honestly, I didn't know what was going on, and it happened at the kind of, not the tail end, but as we were moving past through COVID, and we were getting new variations. So I didn't know if it was affiliated to that, but it was not. When it first started to appear on my body, the itching started first. The itching started before anything appeared. Then I started to get these light brown kind of nodules all over my body. They were mostly in circular oval shape, and they just started appearing in weird, strange places in my body. Nowhere particular, just in the front of my legs, the back, and my arms, as I had mentioned. And then as the itching became more severe, they started to darken. I was scratching them more. Then the next phase it went into was the darkening and the hardening of the layer of skin. So it went from just being these nodules to now almost like, hate to say the word, but almost scab-like, hardened, and they would scab up, and then they would start to bleed if you scratched them too much. So the moderate stage of it was the hardening, the scabbing. It was painful. So not only am I scratching, I'm in pain. It was hurting me. I have one that just developed a couple weeks ago on my right ankle, and it hurts. It actually hurts. After I began to get several remedies and treatments, and it started to improve a bit and try to heal, it's taking a long time. But as it began to heal, the third phase of more of what people think is called the healing, we are healing, but healing is different for everybody. How I'm healing is different than another patient healing. For me personally, I feel like there's always going to be a part of PN that'll be in my body. It'll just be ebbs and flows of different stages of severity. Right now, I'm in an okay stage. I'm starting to present new nodules, which I haven't had in almost 18 months. Thank God I've been doing better. But in this stage, when you start to get a little better, if you're not getting any new nodules, when you start to get a little better, the skin starts to flatten. It's still there. Like you can literally see them visibly on your body, but they start to flatten, and they no longer have the scab-like feel. And that is when you're really in more of the healing side of things. So it takes a lot for everybody. It's different depending on your diet, depending on if you have other underlying conditions. Every single person heals differently, and the time it takes is different. There are some folks who heal within a couple of months. For me, it's still years. So it's a lot. You go through a lot of various phases.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience. Thank you all for allowing us to share with you what we felt about scratching that, because there are a lot of instances where you need to scratch that. And we hope you now have a little bit more clarity on what you're scratching. And if you know someone, if any of these images have struck up some, memories, or probably brought somebody to mind that you feel may not be getting the care or treatment that they need, we hope that you'll stop by our booths, Sanofi and Regeneron, as well as the National Eczema Association outside, and we'll be happy to share some more information with you. Again, thank you, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of today's summit.